Imagine this. You lose everything. Your money, gone. Your possessions, gone. Your home, thousands of miles away. You're stranded in a foreign city with nothing. Most people would break. Most people would give up. Most people would curse their luck and wait to die. But one man did something different. His name was Zeno, and what he did next, in that moment of total loss, he created a philosophy that would guide emperors, inspire prisoners, and change millions of lives for over 2,000 years. This is the story of how losing everything became the beginning of something extraordinary. It was around 300 BC. Zeno was a merchant. He was a wealthy one. He had ships, cargo, and a comfortable life. And then, one day, his ship went down. Everything he owned sank to the bottom of the sea. He washed up in Athens, broke, alone, and lost. And he had a choice. He could fall apart, or he could adapt. He chose to adapt. With nothing else to do, he wandered into a bookshop, not looking for anything specific, just wandering. And there, he found something, a book about Socrates, the philosopher, and something clicked. He became fascinated, not with wealth anymore, not with ships or trade, but with wisdom, with how to live, with what actually matters. So he did something unusual. He sought out the philosophers in Athens. He sought out the thinkers. He sought out the ones asking the big questions, and he studied them, not to pass time, but to understand. And as he learned, he began to develop his own ideas, his own approach, his own philosophy. He started teaching others in a public place, in a decorated colonnade called the Stoa Poikile. And from that place came the name, Stoicism. Today, when we say someone is stoic, we usually mean they're calm, unbothered, and not emotional. And that's part of it. But it's not the whole picture. The original Stoics believed something deeper. They believed the universe operates on cause and effect, that there's a rational structure to everything. They called it logos, the logic, the pattern, and the order. And here's the key insight. We can't control most of what happens to us. We can't control the weather. We can't control other people. We can't control accidents, or losses, or bad luck. But we can control how we respond. We can control our thoughts, our actions, our character. And that is where our power lives. Our power lives not in changing the world, but in changing ourselves. The Stoics didn't waste time imagining perfect societies. They dealt with the world as it actually is, messy, unfair, and unpredictable. And they focused on 4 virtues, 4 ways of being that anyone can practice. First, wisdom, the ability to think clearly even when things are chaotic, to make good decisions based on logic and information, not emotion and panic. Second, temperance. Stoics believe in self-control, moderation, and not indulging every desire, and not reacting to every impulse. Third, justice. Stoics believe in treating people fairly, even when they've wronged you, even when it's hard. Fourth, courage. A man should be courageous, not just in big dramatic moments, but in everyday life. Stoics believe in facing challenges with integrity. One of the most famous Stoics, a man named Seneca, said it perfectly. Sometimes, even to live is an act of courage. Now, you might think Stoicism sounds passive, like just accepting whatever happens. But that's not it. The Stoics believed that only people who have control over themselves can create positive change in the world. You can't help others if you're falling apart. You can't lead if you're ruled by fear and anger. You have to build yourself first. Stoics believe that Stoicism is a philosophy of action. Seneca lived in Rome when slavery was legal, and when slaves were considered property, not people. But Seneca wrote that slaves should be treated with humanity, that we all share the same fundamental nature. Seneca wrote that cruelty is wrong. This wasn't popular, this wasn't easy to say, but he said it anyway, because justice mattered more than convenience. One of the greatest examples of Stoicism came from an emperor, Marcus Aurelius. He ruled Rome for 19 years. During his reign, Rome fought 2 major wars. Many of his children died. The weight of an empire rested on his shoulders. And through it all, Stoicism kept him grounded. He wrote journals, not for publication, just for himself. For him, the journals are reminders of how to stay calm and how to stay just, how to keep going, even when everything felt impossible. Centuries later, those journals found their way into a prison cell in South Africa. A man named Nelson Mandela was locked up for 27 years for fighting against racial injustice and for believing in equality. And in that cell, he read Marcus Aurelius. And those words, written by an emperor 2,000 years earlier, gave him strength. After his release, Mandela became president. And he chose peace. He chose reconciliation, not revenge. He knew the past couldn't be changed, but the present could be faced, and a better future could be built. That's Stoicism in action. Stoicism is not passive acceptance, but active resilience. So why does Stoicism still matter? Stoicism as a formal school eventually faded, but its ideas never did. Christian thinkers, like Thomas Aquinas, admired its focus on virtue. Buddhist philosophy shares similar ideas about inner peace, and in modern psychology, Stoicism is everywhere. There's a therapy approach called cognitive behavioral therapy. It's based on a Stoic idea, an idea from a philosopher named Epictetus. He said, "Suffering doesn't come from events. It comes from our judgments about events. What happens to you is one thing. How you interpret it is another, and you can change your interpretation." There's another example. It's logotherapy, created by Viktor Frankl. He is the man who survived concentration camps. He realized, even in the worst circumstances, you can find meaning. You can choose how to respond. You can't always choose what happens, but you can always choose what it means. And that choice is freedom. So let's go back to Zeno. He was standing on the shore in Athens, everything gone. And here's what's beautiful. He later said that shipwreck was the best thing that ever happened to him, because losing everything forced him to ask what actually matters. Not money, not possessions, not status, but wisdom and character. How you live, who you become. And that realization became a philosophy that has helped millions of people navigate loss, hardship, grief, injustice. Because life will shipwreck you. It will take things from you. It will knock you down. And in those moments, you have a choice. Fall apart or adapt. Curse your fate or find meaning. give up, or keep going. Stoicism doesn't promise that life will be easy. It promises that you can handle it, that you have more control than you think. You have no command over what happens, but you surely have control over who you are in response to what happens. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes that's everything in life.